Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's second half edition of Touch 'em All for Thursday, July 21st. We've got 6 games on the docket today. Before we, take the time for BC and I to introduce ourselves and go through a little bit of promo for SME, we do have a couple games that are just about to get started here at 1:10 Eastern, 11:10 Mountain Time, where I'm at. So we'll dive right in. I think that the first one I'd like to touch on, if it's cool with you, is Rangers Marlins. Rangers and Marlins. That game starts at 1:10 Eastern today. It's going to be John Gray on the mound for the Rangers. Pablo Lopez pitching for the Marlins. That's a 9.61, 9.62 on the betting board. I do have a play here. Marlins are a small favorite here, minus 130. Rangers plus 110 on the road. I'm actually going to be on the over here at 6.5. I just think that's too aggressively low of a total for two starters who, while they're pretty decent, are not amazing. You look at Pablo Lopez, pitched to an ERA around 5.5 in June. He allowed 4 runs in three of his 5 starts in the month of June. He's improved a little bit in the month of July, but look at his expected ERA for the year. It's about a run higher than his ERA is for the season overall. So I think he's still a guy that's due for some regression. It's a Rangers offense that's around average against right-handed pitching. And I'm really not terribly impressed with either one of these bullpens. Miami's bullpen's been around average in July. Texas' bullpen's been way below average in the month of July. You look at John Gray recently. He has gotten better as the season's progressed. I think he deserves some credit for that. But at the same time, this is not exactly a guy who is going to go out there and shove game in and game out for 7 innings, 1 run. You look what he's done recently in his 18 innings in July. He's allowed 9 runs already. He's benefited from a few of those not being counted as earned. But generally speaking, I think these are two somewhat above average pitchers with below average bullpens going at it. So 6.5 is the type of total that I would reserve more for an elite pitching matchup. And I don't quite consider this to be that. So I know these aren't two sexy offenses, but I do like over 6.5 quite a bit here.
Let me take myself on mute there real quick. Yeah, the first thing I saw was at 6.5, and I'm like, well, I got to take that over based just on principle, right? So first off, I do have a bet on this game. I am playing the Nerfy. Typically, I'll lay a little more juice than I would on a side or a total on a Nerfy or a Yerfy, but I like it in this situation. You touched on John Gray. He's had a really rough transition from Colorado to Arlington, but he settled in a lot better. 6-4 record, 3.71. ERA 1.3 whip. His peripherals suggest he will perform as well or even better, especially in opponent batting average and slugging. It's not a concern against the Marlins right now. In his last 7 starts, he went 5-1, 2.02 ERA, and even though he's not faced the fish this time so far this season, back when he was wearing purple in the National League, he was dominant against them. He's got a career 1.66 ERA, 30 strikeouts in 4 appearances. And the Rangers bullpen has been doing better as well, slightly better than average in most categories since about the middle of June. Pablo Martinez also been very good, 2.2 ERA, sub-1 whip in his last 3 outings, 4 runs in those starts. But like you said, his peripherals suggest he's very much overperforming right now. He's probably going to be a fade pitcher in the second half. But against this Rangers lineup, he's keeping them at a flat 200 batting average, 250 slugging, and 217 WOBA. So that checks out since the Rangers haven't really been great against right-handed pitching this season. Bottom 20 or worse in June in batting average, slugging, WOBA, so on. You go farther into the season, obviously, they were just a terrible team at the very beginning. It was a lot worse. Marlins also struggled in the month of June, struggled all this month, 25th or worse in previous name categories. Third most lowest scoring team next to Oakland and Detroit. Seager's being rested after the All-Star break. That was kind of odd. But Jorge Soler and Garrett Cooper are back, and I like the first 5 under, but I just can't get to there with that 3.5. Number opened 7, went to 6.5. Now some big money, probably your money, Dalton, is pushing it back to 7. So I'm just going to stick with the Nerfy on this one.
Sounds good. One other game we've got just a couple minutes here to get to. That's game 1 of New York Yankees, Houston Astros. 9.53, 9.54 on the betting board. That's going to be Jordan Montgomery and Christian Javier going at it. Astros, small favorites at home. I've got them at minus, got them at minus 135. Yankees plus 115, over under 7.5. I don't have a bet here, so I'll let you go ahead and jump in and get that out real quick.
Yeah, real quick. I'm going to take the under 7.5, minus 115. I also have just real small. I got lunch money on Matt Carpenter over a half a hit and Litmus Diaz over 1.5 bases. You can get Diaz at plus 150 or better right now. So those are the three bets I'm on: under 7.5, minus 115. Carpenter over a half a hit and Diaz over 1.5 bases. If you want the full write up on all this, so feel free to go to sportsmapelite.com. But I'll just break it down for y'all real quick. Christian Javier, been good. Tad unlucky, 3.22 ERA versus a 2.54 expected. Not just his expected, though. His expected batting average, WOBA, slugging, they're all elite according to his baseball savant page. Strikeout percentage right now is elite, and that's not expected. He's been sitting guys down left and right. Fastball slider placements mowing him down. His last few starts had been a little bit troubling, though. He went against the Royals and the Angels, and he gave up 9 hits in 8.2 innings pitched and allowed 8 earned and 3 bombs. No one's going to confuse those two teams with the Yankees. So that is a bit concerning. Opposite side, Montgomery. He's been the opposite. 2.37 ERA, 4.19 expected. Unlike Javier, though, his peripherals are telling a much different story. He is looking for regression. Should be looking to be regressing negatively here in the second half. The lineups historically have hit Montgomery well, especially Diaz and Martin Maldonado, but there's no Maldonado today. There was also no Yordan or Michael Brantley. So that concerns me if you're looking at the Astros money line. And it's starting to rise. A lot of people are. It opened at 115. I think it's 130, 135 now in some spots. Yankees elite hitting baseball team, blah, blah, blah. Said hitters versus numbers are terrible. Javier is a combined 58 times amassed plate appearances against this lineup today. 1 home run and 6 hits. So he's effectively dominated this lineup pretty good. So he could shove. But current form has not been great against 2 bottom-hitting teams. But it's a reset after the break, too. He wasn't an all-star. So I don't know what to expect from Javier. Christian Javier is basically what I'm telling you. But I do think the Astros will jump on Montgomery. Probably not as well as they need to with 2 of their biggest bats out of the lineup and only 1 of their 2 best hitters out of the lineup, career against Montgomery. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Both pins are obviously full strength, 2 best in the league, 2 best teams in the AL. They're going to want to set the tone early out of the gate. So I do like the under today. And then for Matt Carpenter, I guess one of the hottest hitting guys in baseball right now. 354 batting average, 13 home runs, 34 batted in. And I think he's like getting a home run every 16 or 17 at-bats. It's crazy right now. And then Diaz is batting 600 versus Montgomery in 5 plate appearances, and he's been knocking the cover off the ball in the past 2 months as well. So that's what I got for that game. Hopefully you're able to get that game in because it looks like they're just about to start.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, just a couple of notes here. Obviously the Astros banged up, like you mentioned, offensively. As a result, they've actually fallen to 18th against left-handed pitchers in the month of July, which is really unusual for them. Yeah. But one other note, obviously both these bullpens season long have been 2 of the best in the league. The Astros bullpen has stayed that way in July. They're 3rd this month with an ERA, with their ERA. Yankees have actually fallen to 15th in the league over the last, 3 weeks or so. So, I think we know the Yankees bullpen has a lot of talent, but they are scuffling a little bit. We saw them scuffle a little bit going into the break. So, I do think that that's something to watch for today, especially having to go through 2 games against the Astros. I agree with most all of that. I would certainly lean under as well. I also would lean toward the Yankees actually on the money line. Getting them around plus 115 is always tempting. Obviously the game just started. I have not played it. Only reason there, I think the Yankees I think right now their lineup's just in better shape. And while Jordan Montgomery hasn't always had a ton of success against the Astros, he pitched okay against them last year. And the Yankees have actually seen Javier this year while the Astros haven't seen Montgomery. So I give the starting pitching edge a little bit to the Astros, but I give a lineup edge right now to the Yankees. And so I don't know. I make the game close to a pick 'em, honestly, which, I think those 2 teams are on a pretty similar level. I think in general, there's this idea out there right now that the Yankees are running away from the league as the league's best team. And I think there's some money to be made going against that. Just going a little bit off the reservation here for a moment. I placed a bet this morning on DraftKings. You can get the Dodgers at plus 180 to finish the season with the best record in baseball. It may sound like a homer bet, and I'm certainly a big Dodger fan, but the thought process behind it, you look at the Yankees this season, they've dealt with almost no injury adversity at all. They've had just about everything break their way that possibly can. The Dodgers have dealt with plenty. Dodgers also have a pretty terrible record in extra inning games. They don't have a great record in coin flip games. So, and yet the Dodgers are, I think, sitting maybe 3.5 games behind the Yankees at the All-Star break. So I think you can look for things to probably regress negatively for the Yankees, at least somewhat in the second half. And certainly I think the Dodgers, they kind of showed going into the All-Star break that as they start to get healthy, it's hard to imagine them winning fewer than 100, 105, somewhere in that range of games. So just something I'd keep an eye on there is Dodgers to finish the season with the best record in baseball, plus 180. I also think the Astros at plus 400 are a little bit of a dark horse there as well. All that's basically to say that while the Yankees are really good, I don't anticipate them matching what they did in the first half the entire way through the second half of the season. I don't know if you have any thoughts there.
Yeah, I do actually, and I would be more inclined to look at a second half team total for the Yankees because of win total, because you brought up a great point. They have not had to deal with a whole lot of adversity, and you're talking about guys like Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, numerous guys out of their bullpen, their closer. All of these guys perennially get hurt at some point during the season. So far, it hadn't happened yet. So can we expect that to be the case in the second half? Well, yeah, there hasn't been a single instance in history that hasn't said otherwise if they hadn't already gotten their injuries out of the way early. I know Stan was hurt at the very beginning of the season, but he's been fine ever since. So you are right. That is a good way to look at it. Also, just because the National League is just so much more softer than the American League right now. And you've got the Yankees and you got the Astros and you got a bunch of other really good teams in the East who could all make a play. And who you got challenging? The Dodgers, maybe the Braves.
Yeah, well, and the Dodgers have already played all their games with the Braves this year.
Yeah,
so they've gotten a decent amount of their tough ones out of the way.
I see so many sellers in the National League for the second half. It almost seems like I don't think the Dodgers are going to put it in cruise control or anything like that, but they can protect their guys. They can rest guys, rest their assets, and make sure that they're nice and healthy coming into October. I think it's a great play. I'd be as interested in fading the Yankees second half win total as I would be just taking the Dodgers for the best record, because you are correct. The Astros have also been dealing with a lot of injury adversity as well, but so far their pitching has remained constantly good, and they've been winning a ton of games even when the offense has not been producing. They're still one of the best under teams in baseball for all that firepower that they have. So if those guys turn loose and that pitching stays static, they will give the Dodgers a run for their money as far as that best record in the second half.
Yeah, I could certainly see. I mean, one more note on that front too. If you look at it from a strictly Pythagorean perspective, right? Team that's allowed the fewest runs in the majors in the first half, Dodgers. Mm-hmm. Team that scored the most runs in the league in the first half, Dodgers. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where I think it's kind of sneaky, right? Because they got off to a little bit of a slow start and they haven't really had like the crazy streaks we've seen in the past. But I mean, if you would have told me at the outset that Buehler'd be hurt, we'd be missing half our bullpen for the majority. I mean, Blake Treinen's thrown 3 innings this season. If you tell me that Kimbrel's got an ERA 4.5 and the Dodgers are going to be sitting there at 60-30, shoot, man. I mean, I'd take it all things considered, So we'll see what happens.
Also, John Borger, thanks for jumping in the chat. And yes, boo Yankees today. Boo Yankees.
Boo Yankees always. So next game down, we're going to dive into rotation order now. A series generally that I'm excited about this weekend. 9-5-1 San Francisco Giants, 9-5-2 LA Dodgers tonight from Chavez Ravine. Dodgers a very small favorite here, -120. Giants around even money. Over under 8 in this one. I'll go ahead and dive into a handicap here first. For one of the first things I looked at, obviously all the bullpens are fresh. Dodgers bullpen has been a decent amount better than San Francisco's in this month. So, I touch on that first because my play here is going to be on San Francisco in the first 5 innings. What I really want to take advantage of is just how well Carlos Rodon's performed against the Dodgers. Since joining the Giants, he's really dominated them. He started 12 innings, allowed only 2 earned runs. He's also allowed 0 or 1 earned runs in 6 of his last 7 starts. Didn't pitch in the All-Star game. Should be really fresh and ready to go here. He gets amped up for these starts against the Dodgers and typically performs well. You look even further back, this is a guy with a 1.25 ERA through the month of June as well. So we're looking at 6 or 7 really solid weeks from him now that he's been building on. Really elite savant stats as well to back it up. Dodgers have been hitting lefties a little bit better this season. They're 7th against left-handers since mid-June. But generally speaking, I don't think it's any secret that the Dodgers prefer the split against righties. So a little bit of an advantage there for San Francisco. Giants have been right around average against right-handed pitching, and Mitch White has been right around an average right-handed pitcher. I think you're probably looking at 5 innings, 2 or 3 runs from Mitch White here. But I think I have a sneaking suspicion the Dodgers may not score through the first 5 innings of this one. Especially, they had a bunch of guys in the All-Star game. A lot of distractions all week. I don't know how focused they are going into this game. Well, I got to imagine the talk around the club. Not that motivation is a big way to handicap baseball, but I think if you look into the Giants clubhouse, there's probably a lot of talk of, hey, coming out of the break, we start with 4 in LA. If we want to jumpstart our season, get things moving in the right direction, we need to show up in LA focused, beat up on the Dodgers, and then we're right back, where we want our season to be and moving in the right direction. So I just think that these games are going to mean a lot to them. I think Gabe Kapler is going to manage it that way, and I think you're going to see Rodon go deep into the game. So look, overall, I think the Giants in the first 5 innings is a great look. I think moneyline, you can get them around -105. The bet I made was Giants first 5 innings plus half a run at -130. I think it's worth it to get that little bit of extra protection for about 30 cents. I also like the first 5 innings. I bet it last night at under 4.5 at -120. I still would play it at 4, which if you can get that around, I think under 4 around even money for the first 5 innings. Mitch White hasn't been amazing, but he has been pretty good. More often than not, he'll give up somewhere between 1 and 3 runs. And I have a sneaking suspicion, like I said, the Dodgers are not going to touch Rodon. So I like Giants first 5 plus half a run. And I think if that doesn't win, it'll be because the Giants aren't scoring either. So first 5 under as well.
Nice. Javier not starting off well. Walks LeMahieu and then hits Judge. Whoops. Anyway, I'm with you on that. I was a little late to the party. I took the first 5 under as well, but I was not able to get that 4.5. So I do have a push out come alive, and I did get saved on the juice a bit. I only spent 10 cents on it. It's already up to, or it was, excuse me, it's already up to 115. Pardon me. Mitch White out of the gate. I guess so. They're not going to run they're not going to run anyone from the top of their top of their rotation out there against Rodon, I suppose. I'm not saying the Dodgers are waving a white flag or anything like that, but you touched on it earlier. They had massive representation at the All-Star game. I know they're not flying back from anywhere, but you were down there. I'm sure it was a party out there. It almost feels like they're just, I don't know. You see, everyone trying to come out in good form and start their aces in most cases today, or at least the top of the rotation guys, and throw Mitch White out there, giving up 6 runs in his last outing. The Dodgers have lost 4 of his last 6 starts. Last time they met, I want to say it was 2-0. That was a 2-0 game. That was a 3-game sweep, and Rodon was a part of that game as well. Giants, they're doing much better than they were. They were a little bit of a fade team for us last month, if you recall. They've won 3 straight. They aren't terrific against righties on the road, but Mitch White, I don't think is going to present too much of a problem for some of the bats to get active maybe a little bit early. Rodon, 2 runs or fewer, 6 of his last 7 outings, 12 innings so far against the Dodgers, 2 earned runs. LA's middle of the pack, left-handed home or against left-handed pitching this season, as you said. Rodon's probably going to hold the Dodgers down. I agree with you on that. They're going to be sluggish, as we also discussed as well. The first 5 under 4 looks good, unless for some reason the Giants just bust out and just tag Mitch White all over the place. I don't think it's going to happen, though, personally. The offense just hasn't been very good. But something I did want to bring up to you, Dodgers ranking. I went to rankings.com this morning just to browse around, and their WRC plus versus lefties is outside the top 10. That's their only offensive ranking outside the top 10. So that really is a bit of a chink in the armor of the best team in the National League. And it's good, don't get me wrong, but when you're talking about LA versus a team's ace who's already held them down more than once, and I'm getting plus money. Yeah, I'm going to take the Giants money line. I like I'm going to go ahead and play the first 5 money line even. I think they can get one across against White. And I'm going to go ahead and take the full game plus 115 as well. But my big play on this one's going to be the under. I think it stayed down the entire time. Every time these guys have met, I want to say it's what do we say the under was? 3-0-1, something like that. So game under 8 is going to be one of my bigger bets today.
Yeah, I mean, I like that as well. I think it falls right in line with the first 5 under as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dodgers against lefties, it's been, if there's been a chink in the armor over the last 6-7 years while they're mostly dominant, that's been that's been a big part of it. Is at times, like we've seen teams in the NL West literally go out and stack their rotations with lefties just because they think that that's the way they're going to get a chance against the Dodgers. The Dodgers are a lot better than those teams, so it just doesn't quite work. But, I think like they've done certain things to try to address that. Right now, missing Chris Taylor really hurts in that category. Missing Kevin Pillar, who they signed preseason as a guy to hit lefties off the bench. That's not great for them. Hanser Alberto is a guy who they signed with that in mind as well. He's come around a little bit recently, but hasn't, really hit quite the way they were hoping he would against left-handed pitching this year. Trey Turner is obviously a bright spot against lefties, but they have some righties with some reverse splits. I mean, Mookie Betts actually hits right-handers typically better than lefties. Will Smith hits righties better than lefties, even though he's a right-handed hitter. And then obviously you've got the big lefties. You've got Bellinger, Freeman, Muncy. I mean, they've that's why they've gone out and got picked up a guy like a Trace Thompson, right, just to see if they can get some pop against lefties. And it's worked okay recently. Like I said, they're 7th in that split, since mid-June. But I mean, typically they're always going to be more comfortable against right-handed pitching. I think that's why you hear them involved on a name like Brandon Drury potentially at the deadline. So
yeah, that's who I was about to tell you as well. That should kind of help bring a little more resolve to that particular staff. And they're still kicking ass, though. I'm just saying that they don't quite kick much ass against lefties.
Yeah. So next game down the board, we are heading out to Oakland for a thrilling doubleheader today between the Detroit Tigers and the Oakland A's. There are plenty of good seats still available if you want to go sit out in the sun in Oakland at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time today and watch these two heavyweights go at it. First game of the two, it's going to be 9:55, 9:56. That's Tarek Skubal and Zach Logue going at it in Oakland. Tigers, decent favorites here, minus 150. We're showing the A's at plus 130, over under 7.5 runs. I've got some thoughts here, but I do not have a play on this game. I'll let you go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah, I'm going to turn this game on as soon as we get off here and probably get smashed and reel at the television. Looking forward to it. No, seriously, though, this is a series that everyone did not circle today. Two worst offensive teams in baseball. Combined, they are 6-20 in each of their last 10 games. Light hitting clubs, bottom every major statistical category. I mean, tune in to us, twice a week for us to shit all over the Tigers and the A's. We do it bi-weekly now. But that being said, both teams are starting lefty, whereas Detroit is going to be starting their ace, quote unquote, Tarek Skubal. Skubal was actually serviceable early in the year. I did have a couple of wagers on him that did come through, but he's really fell off since mid-June. He got shelled at least 3 runs in the last 6 of his 8 starts, June and July. I think his ERA was easily over 9. He was averaging a run per inning given up. So it almost like he's starting to break down because his peripherals still look excellent. You take a look at his baseball savant page, and he's a very good pitcher. At least he's got stuff that's a very good pitcher. And his peripherals all say that a lot of this could be bad luck, or he could be breaking down as well. That doesn't explain bad luck when you're talking about over 30 days now worth of bad data points. So I don't understand. They still have him out there 6 or so innings, and they don't have to do that. The Tigers have had one of the best bullpens in baseball. The only bright spot, really, that this organization's had all year is they've always had an excellent bullpen. So I don't know. I'll finish up on Tarek in a second, but Zach Logue goes for the A's. He looked really good in his opener, and then after that, it's just been a flaming pile of his last 4, 8.27 ERA, 7.4 fielding independent. So I think what he is what he is right now. he'll get some help pitching in Oakland. It's a pitcher-friendly park. It's a day game. That's going to add about 10% offense increase because of the Marine Lair not really being in play, but it's not going to matter. Tigers offense, they're just not putting runners on bases. And that being said, splits versus lefties on the road is actually better than average. They're just not getting guys across the plate. A's offense, fewest runs per game, 192 collective batting average, about 0.65 home runs per game, not even a home run per game on average. Anyway, I think Screwball is going to benefit from the break. I think he's going to do a good job today. I think the A's have the lowest team WRC plus in the league against left-handed pitching at home. And then there's the bullpen, which has just been a complete disaster. Give me Screwball to have a good day. Give me the Tigers to push across a few against Logue or against that bullpen. I'll take the Tigers' first 5 money line, and I like the run line as well.
All right. I'm not quite there with you. I'm not quite there on the value being there in the number. I don't trust Tarek Skubal, although I agree with you in the sense that I think if there was a day that he was going to get right, today would be that day. That being said, Oakland, they're quietly 11th against lefties since mid-June. So if you look at kind of a more recent sample, they've kind of been hitting lefties. What's interesting here, both of these pitchers faced this opponent in May, Zach Logue and Tarek Skubal. Both of them threw 7 shutout innings. And neither one of them has really replicated a start anything like that since. Obviously you touched on it with Skubal, right? I mean, he's struggled of late. I think it's four or more earned runs allowed in 6 of his last 7. So I think I would make Detroit a small favorite here. I think you're right that they're the more likely team to win the game. Oakland's bullpen has been a little better recently. It actually ranks, I think, like 10th or so in the league in July. But I think we both know Detroit's bullpen is better. And obviously Detroit is a lot more competent against left-handed pitchers. So, I think Skubal's the better pitcher. I think he's got better stuff. I think Detroit's got the better bullpen. So I certainly understand leaning that way. I just can't get there in terms of, the line value. And I'm scared of betting Skubal right now. I just don't quite have the gusto to do it, but I'll certainly be rooting for the Tigers for you there.
Yeah, I got this isn't really a bet on Skubal. It is a little bit of a bet on Skubal because obviously I took a first 5 money line, but I'm real small on that wager. It's a fade of Oakland. It's a continued fade of Oakland. The under was actually my first look, but I don't really know what to do with Lowe. He's just gotten torched by everyone, and Detroit does, like you said, they hit better on the road. So I think they can get a couple across. I'm looking at maybe like a 3-1, 4-0 type game. So the under is definitely in play. I don't know. How do you feel about the under? You think that might be the better play now that I talk it out?
I just can't get there. I think these two. I think Skubal has fallen apart. And I think Zach Logue just isn't very good. And I think Zach Logue's savant page is bad. I mean, it's like it's in like Patrick Corbin, Yohan Adon territory. I know Skubal's is really good, but my feeling on that is that, the savant page takes the whole season into account. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't pass the eye test lately. I agree.
Yeah. And so I think it's hard for me to trust that that's who he's going to be. When he just hasn't been recently. That being said, I mean, the break does good for some guys. Pitching against the A's does good for a lot of pitchers. But this game feels really high variance to me. I feel like either one of these pitchers could just disintegrate. So I can't get to the under. Personally.
So I'm doing a tiny bit of steam chasing on this as money has started to come in on the over. The 7's actually looking like it's about to move to a 7.5. The juice is definitely heading that way. And if anyone's going to put those runs up, it's going to be the Tigers.
Sure.
So that's what gets me. And plus, I'm getting plus 130 on that run line. So that's kind of my reasoning for there. But yeah, you're right. I'll probably leave that total alone. But I do like where I'm at. I didn't get the best value on the first 5, but I'll back Skubal today and fade Logan the Athletics just like we have been doing pretty much every week since the beginning of the season. So hopefully it works out.
Sounds good. Well, the next game, we've got more Tigers and A's action for everybody. That's exactly what the audience wants. I could sit and talk about these two teams all afternoon. Game 2, 9-5-7, 9-5-8, Detroit Tigers, Oakland A's. This game, we've got Garrett Hill and Frankie Montas on the mound, a couple righties. So, we talked about how both these teams have been a little better against lefties than they have been against righties. These are the two worst teams in baseball at hitting right-handed pitching. The A's are a big favorite here, minus 165, Tigers plus 140. Probably the biggest favorite spot you'll see with Oakland maybe all season. Over under set at 7. And personally, I think it's a little ridiculous. I'm really having to talk myself as the day goes along, talk myself out of betting betting Detroit on the money line in the second game at plus 140. Frankie Montas last pitch in the majors on July 3rd. A bit of an injury, he's done some rehab, whatever, but do we really think that they're going to let him go out there and throw 100, 110 pitches and try to get through 6 or 7 innings? I mean, I certainly don't. I think we're looking at somewhere between 3 and 5 innings for him, which means we're going to get maybe more than half a game of the Oakland bullpen to deal with here. And so I just, minus 165 is where I would put this line if Montas was like healthy and shoving. But that's just not really what we're looking at here. Looking at Garrett Hill, this is a guy who's made 2 major league appearances, both starts this year. One of them was good against Cleveland. One of them was awful against the White Sox. He has a 3.23 ERA in the minors, though, this season, which, if we're being honest, the A's probably resemble a AAA lineup more than they resemble the White Sox. So, that could bode well for him. But in general, I don't really know what we're going to get. He's facing the worst team against right-handers in baseball right there with his own Tigers. So I don't see any reason why, Detroit's got the better bullpen. I think Detroit's the more talented team generally. If you look at expectations preseason, Detroit's expected win total was like 10 wins higher than Oakland's. So there's more talent on the Tigers side. So the only factor here that I think even makes the A's a favorite is Frankie Montas.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably going to give us 4 innings today. So I don't know. The more I talk through this game, the more I think I'm going to end up playing the Tigers on the money line at plus 140.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Frankie Montas, I'm pretty familiar with him since the Astros moved to the AL West. He's got another one of those savant pages, a bit of a head scratcher. You look at his percentile rankings, it's good. I mean, this guy could be, third, maybe even a second guy in a rotation, on a team, a 500 or better team. And he has pitched to that effect. I mean, he's been pretty good. You look at his hold on, I was on his game logs. You look at his StatCast and ERA 3.26, not terrible. Expected ERA, he's actually performing a little bit better than that. He's getting hard hit a little more than you want, but everything else is lining up to saying this is a pretty solid middle of the rotation guy. And again, he's been playing as he's been throwing as such. It's just the A's are so bad on offense. I think I saw the stat a few weeks ago that he was one of the least supported starting pitchers, one of starting aces, I should say, in baseball. And there's just no run support, and of course that easily corresponds with the A's poor offensive metrics and performance so far to date. So you got a guy who's throwing well, but as you said, is coming off of injury and probably won't go more than 50, 60 pitches or 3 or 4 innings, whatever comes first. A team that doesn't support him, that have continued to play poorly on offense, and then a bullpen that's showing signs of competency the past few weeks, but ultimately is still one of the worst in the league against the Tigers, who are the complete opposite of all that, except for Hill. Hill is the only variable here that we just can't put a beat on, because he's only been right out there twice, and one really good performance, one really bad performance, like you said. So I don't know what to expect from Hill, but this number's crazy for Frankie Montas, even against the Detroit Tigers. I might put a marker on it already, plus 140. But I need to see how the Tigers look coming out of the break and make sure the A's still suck before I do that. You can get the first 5 if you want to take Montas at -0.5, minus 115. So that might not be the worst thing. It just depends on how the A's are hitting, but I'm with you. I might end up going full game on the Tigers, and if the A's are able to do anything against Scooball and the bullpen, I might put something on Montas and lay the run line just in the first 5. But you're really degenerating out if that's how you're trying to look just to find some action in that game. But hey, 6 games on the board. Got to stay entertained, right? Can't just watch a baseball game without action.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to play the A's, that's the way to do it. I don't like betting pitchers when they're like their first game back from an injury. I just don't feel like I know what I'm going to get.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
unless it's Scherzer.
We've got one more game to go through. That's the later afternoon game between the Yankees and the Astros, game 2 of their doubleheader today. It's going to be 9-5-9, 9-6-0 on the betting board. Yankees right around even money. Astros small favorites. I'm showing them around -120. Over under 7 in this one. I do have a play on this game. I'll let you go ahead and start if you've got one as well.
Yeah, it looks like we finally have confirmation. It's going to be Domingo Germán. Is that accurate?
That's what I'm showing, yeah.
Yeah, this morning I was checking MLB.com and Yankees Twitter and the Yankees website and everything. And the book, I'll have 2 books that haven't moved, though, off of Germán. And the number is definitely diving now since I got confirmed. I hadn't got confirmed more than 30 minutes ago because Garcia is taking a lot of money. The Stros are taking a lot of money. And hold on, I'll get back to my notes on this one. Obviously, we need to see how the offenses look, and when offenses look in game 1, and we need to see how the bullpen usage is going to be. I went ahead and did the cap, though, for Garcia versus Germán, I think. I made Garcia about a -125 favorite, and that's currently where he's sitting right now. And it opened up lower than that. So this is one you want to go ahead and take right now. He's got good numbers versus New York. This year against the Bronx Bombers, they have an average of 158 against Garcia, 238 on base percentage, only 316 slugging, 554 OPS. That's not terrible, but for the Yankees, that's very, very bad. His actual versus peripherals, I'll say that he is what he is. So I think we should expect a good performance. I like him at an first 5, pardon me. I've already taken that when I had 2 books that hadn't moved off of Domingo. Domingo, on the other hand, gave up 2 earned in 1 inning of work versus Tampa in his only appearance so far this month. But in June, he gave up 13 hits, 10 home runs, excuse me, and 2 home runs in 21 innings pitched. He's seen the Stros twice. 7 total innings pitched. He allowed 7 hits, 5 runs, and 2 home runs. So they see him pretty well. He's got great numbers versus righties, and especially, or they have great numbers, versus righties, especially fireball throwing righties. Anyone who throws that 4-seamer over 94, 95%, it's a plus EV on the Astros' expectation on their offense. So they're getting after those fastballers really, really well. So that's my play on the first 5. Again, I might go full game. We'll just see how game 1 goes. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So one note, I'm not showing any action.
Hey D, I lost you, buddy.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you now. Go ahead.
Right. I'm not showing any. I don't think he's pitched this year, as far as I can tell. Actually,
some bad dates on that. Then
he doesn't have any stats at all. But look, I mean, for Domingo Germán, this is a guy who, like, I'm relatively surprised to see him back pitching in the majors. Just a garbage human being.
I was going to bring that up.
I'm glad to bring it up. He's a POS. Like, the guy sucks. Just, domestic violence, all that. But to me, I'm in shock that the Yankees are trotting him out there. And look, people are going to look at his minor league rehab starts and he didn't give anything up, whatever. Guy had a 4.56 xFIP in the minors this year in his rehab outings. For the last 327 MLB innings, he's got a fielding independent pitching of like 4.5. This is not a great pitcher. He's just not, and he's nearing 30 now. He's not this super young guy that they're just calling up. I don't understand what the upside is for the Yankees of bringing this guy into the rotation right now. I really don't get it. I think the Astros are going to crush him. They hit him well in the past, way back when, and I think that they'll probably crush him again today. You went over a lot of the stats on Garcia. He looked really good against the Yankees hitters. I think you look at the Astros; they're number 2 in baseball against righties since June 15th. So even as they've dealt with these injuries, they haven't struggled against righties anymore. So I think they're in a really good spot here. I think Kyle Tucker might take him deep at some point. Would just in terms of like taking a shot in the dark on something. Looking at some other stuff here, the bullpen advantage goes to the Astros of late. Third best bullpen in baseball in July. Yankees right around middle of the pack. Luis Garcia did face the Yankees this year, 5 1/3, 1 run back on June 30th. He has been up and down of late. 4.23 ERA in June, 4.38 in July. I lean over here as well on 8.5, but I think I'd more so if I wanted to play an over, I'd do it in the first 5 to avoid the bullpens. But in general, I think this is just a great spot to take the Astros on the money line. I think they have the much better starting pitcher on the mound. I think they have the better bullpen right now. So I think they win the game, plain and simple. So to me, Astros, I got them at -118 on the money line. That's what I'm going to be rolling with tonight. Hopefully their bullpen doesn't have to throw 6 innings in the first game.
Mm-hmm. And you are correct. My filter was not updated on 2022. I was looking at 2021 numbers against Houston. But yeah, now that I'm looking at his minor league stuff, you're right. This guy sucks. I don't know. I guess I got to do some digging, figure out why exactly he's starting. I guess there was whispers that it was going to be Garrett Cole, but he had been on short rest. So I don't know. That's bizarre.
Yeah. I think it's something like I get sometimes a team just needs to bring up an extra arm to start a game here or there. To me, just bring up one of your mind, like give a new guy a shot. I don't know what you need to see from Domingo Germán or why you would subject your fans to having to deal with this guy starting for your team. Given everything we know about him, even some of the guys on the team. Zach Britton was quoted back in 2019 or 2021. When a lot of this stuff went down, I think his quote was something along the lines of, "Hey, sometimes you can't control who your teammates are." That speaks volumes. So I just don't see the value of bringing this guy into the clubhouse and letting him start. I don't get it. It'd be one thing if he was really good, right? Then it would at least make sense. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of a mess, and I actually think especially if the Astros win Game 1, they might just keep rolling with momentum. They've kind of owned these New York teams this year anyway. So yeah, I like Houston a ton.
Yeah, I think I recall that quote as well. I was confusing that one, and there was also when Osuna came over from the Blue Jays. That was also one of those kind of like, well, just don't talk to him, Yeah. So all right, well, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'll be larger. I'm gonna go ahead and update the sports map. Excuse me, I'm going to update the sports map elite page right now, or my card today, to reflect that. I'll probably be pretty good on Garcia early, and then we'll go ahead and put a marker on money line. I'm seeing 115 is my best number, so do that.
All right. Well, I had 4 total best bets today. I had Rangers, Marlins over 6.5. Hopefully that comes in. Houston in Game 2 -118. We just touched on that, and 2 different first 5 bets in the San Francisco LA game. Kind of a weak slate today. Should be a lot more fun tomorrow, but certainly glad to be past the terrible sports day yesterday. So looking forward to a fun second half. You want to go ahead and run through your plays here as well?
Sure. I bet on women's basketball WNBA yesterday, so that tells you how nice it is to have baseball back. Then, oh, sorry, hold on. All right, so Yankees Astros. That's already kicked off. Rangers Marlins. They've already kicked off as well, correct?
Yep.
And the Nerfy cashed on Rangers Marlins. So far 1-0.
Beautiful.
All right, so for my remaining card, I've got Tigers at A's Game 1. I like Tigers first 5 money line. Very small on that. That's really not a whole lot of value, but I like Scooball today. Tigers run line -1.5. Good value on that. I think they get after the A's bullpen, even if they can't get it done in the first 5. On the Yankees, Astros game number 2. I like the Astros first 5 money line and the Astros game money line. I am much, much heavier on the first 5. Giants and Dodgers. Give me first 5 under 4. Give me the Giants first 5 money line for even money. I'm small on the Giants money line for the game plus 115, but my biggest play of the day is the Giants Dodgers game under 8. I got it at 115. It's now at 120. I would recommend jumping on it now. I don't think it goes to 7.5, but you never know. So that is my card for today.
Awesome. All right. Well, appreciate anybody who joined in, and we'll have a couple winners, and then we'll be back Tuesday with another show with hopefully a much more full slate. I don't see why it wouldn't be. But in the meantime, everybody have a great weekend. The Angels are not in action today, so I didn't have to remind you all. But, I always like to make sure people are aware the Angels don't play anywhere near the city of Los Angeles. That's kind of been my thing. But I have to get that in at some point every show. But, otherwise, appreciate everybody joining. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.